Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Hedera and HBAR. So with that being said, let's just dive in and let's start off with this tweet here from Sentiment. So this is the top crypto development activity notable GitHub commits tracked by Sentiment feed. So this is the amount with the most developer activity. Hedera comes in at number 5. Very interesting to see Ethereum at number 10 with a lot of these other major players above it. Number 1, Kusama, Polkadot, ADA, Status, and then Hedera, of course. Love to see it. Again, I kind of follow these metrics just simply because when we look at what's happening around the space, development activity is crucial. It means that there's a lot of builders on the network, and seeing Hedera at number 5 is great to see. I know that we would love to see it at number 1, but hey, number 5, I'll take it, especially above Chainlink, Cosmos, ICP, Mana, and even Ethereum. Also, with this, we did see the networks get paused a little bit over the last couple days. For an example, it's Brandon D over on Twitter posted this. Good morning. Looks like the Hedera mainnet is back. I'm definitely curious to know what Atma.io was tweaking / fixing / upgrading. Seems like the TPS is also higher, about 30 to 50%, which is interesting. Could there be a new use case? Now, we're going to dive into a few problems around the transactions here in a second. But as we do look at the transactions, yeah, it's basically back to normal, sitting at about 1.1K TPS, which is great to see. Almost 10 billion transactions year to date. Currently speaking, we have about 9.17 billion. Now, I do want to talk to you guys about something because a lot of individuals have been responding to me in the comments, asking me to do a video on why aren't these transactions moving the HBAR price? Because if we look at HBAR today, well, we're sitting at about 4.5 cents. Last 7 days, you guys know that we already came down to about 4 cents almost. We've been just trailing. If we look at the all-time chart, we're just kind of trailing sideways. Most altcoins look like this as well. They will most likely come back down to retest their December low, or possibly go all the way down to test the March, or I shouldn't even say March, but like the fall timeframe lows from 2020, depending on how the chart looks. But the main reason why we are not seeing the price move with the substantial amount of transactions, I mean, listen, we did 9.17 billion transactions year to date. So why hasn't the price reflected this? Well, it's very simple, right? When we look at the overall fees here, we have the fee base. This is if we are talking about every single one of these transactions having that same exact fee per transaction, you're only looking at about roughly almost $9.2 million in revenue. Now, to some people, $9.2 million in about 6 months, that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. But for this space, that's not going to change the price much. If we look at HBAR right now, the 24-hour volume is sitting at about roughly 14 million. So this is, again, almost 2 million in 6 months. When 24-hour volume is about $14 million, yeah, we have a long way to go until these transactions are really generating enough revenue to change the price direction. I also want to talk to you guys a little bit about Ethereum. So with Ethereum, it's very interesting as well, because a lot of people will be asking me like, okay, well, like how is Ethereum moving in terms of value? First off, Ethereum is like the number 1 go-to for a lot of dApps and just DeFi activity. Ethereum, I think, still is the number 1 network for DeFi value. So the most TVL is on Ethereum still. Market cap wise, it's sitting at about roughly $208 billion. The 24-hour volume by itself is about $5.8 billion. That is significant. When we look at the top volume right now, minus, of course, Tether, it's right near Bitcoin. It's above USDC. So Ethereum does boast quite a bit of 24-hour volume, especially when compared to Bitcoin. And then also Ethereum's revenue. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. In terms of the revenue cycle on Ethereum, we can look at the daily averages. So some days it's a little bit different, but for the most part, we're sitting at about roughly anywhere between $2 to $3 million per day in gross revenue on Ethereum. If you look at the max, so I actually don't have the max, but we can go to 365 days, so the whole year. We can see that this did spike up quite a bit during May. This is due to meme coins going absolutely parabolic and the network being utilized quite a bit. When the network gets utilized, obviously you guys know that more revenue will be generated, but for the most part, it's anywhere around roughly $500,000 to $1 million per day on average. When the network really picks up, we could see about roughly almost $30 million in one single day in terms of revenue. So this is significant when you are looking at how much revenue was generated on, Hedera in 6 months, which was about $9.2 million. Ethereum hits that in about 3 days. So we are still very early with Hedera, but I will say, like, there will be a day where we are seeing the price reflect from the utility side. Right now, there's been a lot of discussions around Hedera in terms of the Atma.io use case. For an example, documenting HBAR did post the recent maintenance of Hedera high throughput app Atma.io made it painfully obvious that without Atma, the amount of transactions flowing through Hedera is about 1 to 7 TPS. Before Atma went live, TPS was about roughly 25. Who actually is using the network and paying fees? Now listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that this statement is not true, that this statement is nonsense, that you should just avoid this statement. No. I think that it's good to look into things like this. I did see the transactions slow down drastically. In fact, I've seen a lot of you guys commenting on my last HBAR video saying, like, what's happening with the TPS? Because it was sitting at around roughly, like, when I looked, it was, I think, like 7 to 9 transactions per second. Yeah, it's a big problem, but I also want you guys to understand how early we are in this market. In fact, a use case that I personally love that is building on Hedera is Neuron. So we do see from Neuron World, they did respond back to this statement saying, in all fairness, the market is still early. The internet was invented in 1983. It then took 6 years to invent the www. Things only really started accelerating from about 1996, which was 13 years after the initial invention. And even then, relatively few people use the web. And yeah, this is a good way to look at this market right now. Everyone wants to say, hey, Hedera has a ton of utility tied to it. The problem is that nobody cares. And I know that kind of sounds like a wild, statement, but ultimately nobody cares. Nobody will care in this space at all until we see like major use cases going live. I'm not saying that Atma.io isn't huge. It's a global brand, global company. Love to see it going live on Hedera. In fact, it solidifies Hedera's future in the space, but most people just won't care. Unless you are really focused on utility and you're focused on real world utility, then yeah, probably most people don't care. This space is still dominated by meme coins and speculation and, just nonsense. Now seeing past all that and seeing the value behind these utility gems, that's great. That will set you up long term for, incredible amounts of success. But I will say Ethereum didn't have overnight success either. None of these tokens will have overnight success. Ethereum launched all the way back in, the initial coin offering ICO was about roughly 2014, 2015. And as you guys do see, it didn't do all that bad. It took about 3 years or so until it's seen a ton of major growth. This basically did almost a 100x plus move back in 2017. And then in 2018, when it did top out, it did a massive move. And of course, it went sideways just like the rest of the market until we recently seen it move drastically. Now, of course, yes, if you have been following the XRP lawsuit, then you know that there's a lot of corruption and things like that happening behind Ethereum that I just personally don't like to see, but it is what it is. Almost all of these projects, it takes time for immense success to happen. I will say with Hedera, we did see a very large, move with Hedera. If you were early on back here, which I was not, But if you were, then you've seen about roughly a 50x return on HBAR during 2021. So hey, did it really underperform all that much? Not really. And now we have the market going just sideways, waiting for the next big boom within this market. And right now, yeah, we are very reliant on liquidity cycles in the traditional world. It's kind of comical how everyone that is in crypto wants to say like, hey, I'm jumping into crypto to escape the traditional world. Yet guess what? We are basically tied to it anyways off of liquidity cycles. But until we see utility really provide a ton of value for the space, which right now it just really isn't, most of these altcoins are not going to give you the returns that everyone is waiting for. To me personally, as we look at tokens like HBAR, as we look at tokens like XRP and QNT and all these other ones, it's still going to take some time. But I want you all to understand that it's these tokens and it's the time, all of it combined into one. It is worth it. Just like Neuron World is saying over here, talking about the internet. With the internet, with the .com bubble, you had a lot of great projects, but then you had a ton, and I mean a ton of garbage. It's the same with crypto. There is almost 26,000 projects within the space, and I would argue that almost 99% of those projects are complete trash. The projects that are actually being utilized, they are going to be the ones that are very successful. Although, yes, it sucks to only have one use case on Hedera generating these, amounts of transactions. But think about that. This is one use case generating these amounts of transactions. This is $9.2 million in 6 months, roughly about $18.4 million per year in gross revenue for the network. And although, yeah, that's not, it's not game-changing amounts of money yet. Wait until all of these other use cases do go live. And I've seen a lot of people saying like, we've been waiting forever. Yeah, patience is a virtue. This space, if you are not patient, if you can't wait, then I'm just going to say it right now. You're not going to be successful within the space. I've been watching Hedera for the past couple years now. And I've seen everything. I've seen them, go from pretty much no use cases live on the network to now they actually have an enterprise grade application live on the network. I've also seen Hedera go from pretty much no social media presence to guess what? All of a sudden we have marketing. We have, a lot of individuals coming over to Hedera and finally looking into what HBAR is doing. And although, yes, there's so much FUD around Hedera with not only the supply, but you also have, the use cases, centralization problems, all this kind of thing, like all these statements that come out, to me, it's clear that in the future, Hedera will be a dominant force to be reckoned with. We have seen the network expand rapidly, and I know that when we go over here to the enterprise dApps, everyone wants to see a lot more enterprises going live with these use cases. But I just want you guys to understand that a lot of these, they take time to go live. We've been waiting on the Coupon Bureau forever now. We've been waiting on a few of these use cases to go live forever now. And I get how frustrating it can be at sometimes, but I also want you guys to realize that these are enterprise grade applications. These aren't your typical retail application that, nobody really cares about. These are enterprise grade applications that are disrupting real world activity. And a lot of these enterprises, they have NDAs or they have things to build. A few of these things, these are going to disrupt, millions and millions, if not billions of individuals' lives. The Coupon Bureau is a perfect example of that. It's a use case that is boring. It's a use case that nobody will really care about. Oh, it's just coupons. But it's a use case that will generate, hundreds of billions of transactions. These are the use cases that we are still waiting for to go live. And I know that we've been waiting forever, but it will be worth the wait, just like it was worth the wait to see Atma go live. And when Atma went live, guess what? Everyone changed their idea of what Hedera will be in the future. This is one application live. And it recently went live, right? About a year ago. So, or it's actually technically it wasn't even a year ago. It was a half a year ago, right? And from there, we've seen the network change drastically. So now we wait. Right? We have to wait, and it sucks to wait. But again, it is worth it because with every single one of these technology asset classes, you had the internet, right? The internet generated a huge, massive new asset class, which was deemed Web 2. And with Web 2, you had trillion-dollar companies out there. So if you think about that, what will Web 3 bring? Which is ultimately the upgrade of every major industry and every major sector, because this is technology at the end of the day. Technology that is allowing these enterprises to go live and scale their business models and achieve things that they've never thought possible in the past. So when I look at these companies like Hedera, it's worth the wait. And although, yes, a lot of these, this entire space itself is speculative, right? We're all speculating at some point in time these projects being utilized on a large scale. With Hedera, we don't really have to speculate. There's already an enterprise-grade application live, generating, billions of transactions. And it's only a matter of time, in my opinion, until we start to see a lot more go live. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because I'm more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join me for Discord down in the description below. So it's up to you all. Have a beautiful day or a beautiful night. Wherever you guys are on this video, with this been Nick. Peace out, guys.